show. Thank you. Perhaps you didn't know it, but the U.S. once had its very own emperor. He reigned, so to speak, in California for more than 20 years, and 30,000 faithful followers mourned at his funeral in 1880. Well, he's just one of the people cataloged in a new book called Eccentrics, a study in sanity and strangeness. Dr. David Weeks is a clinical neuropsychologist at the Royal Edinburgh Hospital in Scotland, and he's the co-author of that book, Eccentrics, and he joins us this morning. Dr. Weeks, good morning.
Good morning, Jack.
Good to see you. Before we talk about some of your particular characters here, the first question I have is, how did you get interested in studying eccentrics?
My researcher went to the school, James Gillespie School for Girls, that there had been a real teacher there that the character, Jean Brodie, was modeled on in Muriel Sparks' novel. And we were just wondering what the word meant. And it was 1984, and that's Orwell's book about conformity and political problems. And we said, let's check this out. And we discovered that no scientific study had ever been done in the area before. And I thought it was rather like a black hole in psychology, rather like you'd have a black hole in astronomy. But, and it's a good metaphor, too, because the closer I got to these people, the more I got sucked into the subject. It became very fascinating.
This black hole of it. You spent about 10 years studying and talking, literally thousands of interviews. And I know you've come up with sort of a cataloging, if you would, of shared traits. Let's take a look at some of them. Let me ask you just to run through them quickly for us here, if you can see them. Go ahead, go through the list.
Yes, they're permanent nonconformists, and they tend to be very creative, and they're really driven. Their major motivation is an intellectual one. It's this very strong sense of curiosity, and their idealism is the kind that they want to make other people happy, and they want to change the world for the better, and they have these happy, obsessive preoccupations.
You also found some common characteristics. You said not as significant, but nonetheless interesting. Tell us about some of those.
Yes. They have so many ideas tumbling out so fast that they don't spell as well, and they don't really assume the same conventions of spelling. They tend to be the oldest or only children. I think that's the case because oldest children or only children seem to be more powerful and more self-confident about themselves. There are more left-handers, and that might have something to do with the way their brains are wired up. Right. And they did get a lot of emotional criticism from their parents, but they say in retrospect they deserved it. That's
interesting. Yes. You make a very strong point in your book about differentiating between people who are mentally ill and eccentric. What's the differentiation?
Well, eccentricity emerges out of one's normal personality, and it's a free choice. And the choice is usually made at a very early stage in the person's life, sometimes as early as age 7 or 8, which is about as early as a child can even make that distinction between same and different when it comes to personality. And it snowballs from there.
Looking through the book, an Englishman by the name of John Ward seems to be a good illustration for us to talk about here for some of your findings. Give us some of what you learned about John Ward and why he fits into your characteristic of an eccentric.
Well, he's got a very serious point, and that's we live in a throwaway society, so he has declared himself a junkist, and he makes all of his humorous inventions out of things that other people throw away.
We just saw him sitting in something there. What was that?
That was probably his bod pod. That's a cure for the backseat driver. If someone's a backseat driver, you just sort of put them in that and just drag them along behind the car.
And you said he creates things, makes up, as in his term, a junkist?
Yeah. He does this to make other people laugh, but sometimes they actually serve, they solve practical problems that some people have had in the past.
Such as?
Well, for example, he noticed that women in cold climates, sometimes when they're getting dressed in the morning, that some of the items